Hello everybody, I hope you are doing well. Welcome to today's stream. Shout out to everybody who's here live, as well as special shout out to the replay crew. Today's stream is going to be a little different for a couple of reasons. First off, my brain decided it wanted to be a lazy lump today, and I didn't have anything pre-planned, so I'm like, yay, let's wing it. And second of all, because one of the things I decided to wing and do with this like weird, I don't know, didn't plan stream is show you my foster kittens. Yay! In case you are new here, my name is 𝗬𝗏. I'm a planner addict, sticker designer, crazy cat lady / cat mama, and I also foster kittens sometimes, and that is who I am going to be able to show you today. They're sitting on the desk right here next to me. They're like, why are we here? We usually live in the bathroom. So yay! And of course, this was the perfect day for me to not have everything planned out because I'm trying a new time. Usually I stream at 2:30 p.m. Pacific on Mondays and Thursdays, and I decided to try 4 p.m. Pacific, partially as an experiment just for me, and partially because some of you guys told me that a little bit later would work for you. So because, by the way, I just realized, because I'm going to show you the kittens, well, here's one now, if you'll... Anyway, Coco and Opal are in my bedroom, or as I affectionately call it, kitty jail, because they don't like kittens, and I don't want to have any extra factors going on. So we're just gonna hang out. I'm gonna introduce you to the kittens, and we're going to chat about planners. So let me go ahead and give shout outs to people who are here. Manito, hey, Samantha, I'm glad you were able to make it sometime and see the kittens. Let's see, Mandito, you have 3 cats yourself and you can't wait. Yay. Lynn, you haven't received your planners yet? Oh my God. Was it you who contacted Erin Condren about the planners being late and they said they would like rush it or something? Let me know. I know that there was someone, I'm just forgetting exactly who it was. Yeah, we're just gonna wing it. We're gonna see some kittens and it's gonna be fun. So this one, this is Ricky. I decided to name him. His name actually from the shelter was Spaghetti, which is cute, but I like to rename my fosters a lot of times. Sometimes I actually come up with real names and sometimes I don't. Oh, and the other one, Pete, is crying because she's like, hey, my brother's getting all the attention. Let me put you back in the carrier. This one, the little black hole boo, is Pete. Yay! And his name from the shelter was Rigatoni. At the shelter that I foster with, which is the Oregon Humane Society, you get official naming rights if the kittens are born while you're fostering them. Otherwise, they name them, and then I always just nickname them. Sometimes I am not nearly like good at nicknaming them. Like once the nicknames were like Tuxie and Callie, and there was one that was like a tortie, except that she was like the runt and there were some issues with her, so her name in the shelter was Glowworm. That was like a creepy crawly one. Obviously these are pasta dudes, but yeah, I gave them my own names. So he's a black hole. Hello. They're about 4 weeks old. I think they're a little bit less than 4 weeks based on their teeth. If you are at all interested in learning about fostering kittens or kitten development, I would highly recommend checking out the Kitten Lady. I randomly found her on YouTube, and that's how I became kind of inspired to foster kittens. But she talks about how you can tell about how old they are because of their teeth. Hey Sarah, thanks for showing up. Yay! I'm not sure if it will focus close. He's a little black hole. So, does that work a little bit? No? You're like, hey, no. The other thing I will say is that I think I mentioned earlier, they typically live in my bathroom, and part of that is so that they stay out of Coco and Opal's way, because right now they're just getting to the point where they're not just eating and sleeping, so they're going to have to move soon. I haven't exactly figured out what I'm going to do about that. But when kittens are really young, they actually can't regulate their own body temperature. And my bathroom is a very, very small bathroom. But the bonus is that because it is a super small room with no windows, it is relatively easy to temperature control. And because my apartment is like half underground, typically it's pretty cold, which I like for the most part. But for kittens, they can't temperature regulate. So it's not good. So I have a couple of heating pads going. I have one right in front of me that I might show the kittens on every so often. And then I also have one in their crate, which is on the desk. So they're not used to like me picking them up on the heating pads because I am usually just in the bathroom. Like literally my bathroom's one of those bathrooms where like it's so small, like I can't open the door all the way. So I have a little TV table that I put in there, and I literally like put the toilet lid down and sit on it, and that's my chair while I am taking care of them and feeding them. So cuties. Yes, Sarah, Kitten Lady is the best. And even if you're not interested in like finding out how to take care of kittens, she has a lot of really interesting videos about like her different foster adventures. Like once she was vacationing in Machu Picchu and found a kitten there. and it was like in bad shape. And so they ended up, two kittens. They had like a little bit of an adventure getting the kitten back to the US. So yeah, there's a lot of good stuff just for entertainment value. And then she also talks about like medical issues. And so it's interesting just from a like, if you like cats and that sort of thing, it's interesting just from that perspective as well, in my opinion. I watched her for about 1.5 years before I started fostering. Yeah, Mandito, you have to be really careful. Have I considered getting pet talk buttons for my cats? I have actually. I haven't actually done it, but I have considered it. I think it would be a pain in the ass to actually train them to use them, but I think if I could manage it, I think it would actually be super helpful. And the kittens are like, this is the first time we've been out of the bathroom and out of our crate because I have them right in front of me on the heating pad. And they're like, what's going on? We want to explore. Kittens! This is, I should have set up like a kitten cam or something, because this is kind of like, I have to keep holding them up so you guys can see them. They eat in about 2 hours, so they shouldn't be hungry right now, but they're also not used to being, you know, held up and around in between feedings. So I took a picture of myself the other day at like 2:30 a.m. So like my hair's up and kind of disheveled, and you know, I like literally am in, like I literally got out of bed, heated up the bottle and went in. And so it's like me, and I'm essentially covered in kittens, kind of like this. I think I had them kind of like that, except that because I was wearing like my sleep tank top, you could see them a little bit better, whereas they don't. They blend a little bit more with the shirt, the dark shirt. And they're burrowing in my hair, of course. My hair was already a little bit of a, I won't say a mess, it was already a little bit crazy today. Still working on this whole like wavy hair thing and getting it to work out and look nice, and it's a journey. So, Lynn, going back to where you said that you still hadn't received your planners, have you talked to Erin Condren again or checked the tracking? I want to know what's going on, because I would be really mad too if that was going on to me. Let's see. Hesitant about getting the buttons. Yeah, I think it would be really helpful. And my thought is, like, I was looking on Amazon for those buttons, and I think you can get a pack of 4 for under $30. I was like, okay, that's not a huge investment. You know, you could just kind of give it a shot. If it doesn't work, you didn't like dish out a ton of money. And then if it works, you could always get more buttons, you know, because you'd always have to start with just a couple anyway. What are you doing? I want to hear, has everybody else who ordered planners for the Life Planner launch gotten theirs? I know some of you guys ordered for the teacher lesson planner launch, and I'd love to hear who here ordered teacher lesson planners and who got life planners and who's waiting for other planners to come out. Because remember, we still have the monthly planner and the academic planner. I don't have dates for either of those. Like, it's literally not I can't say, it's that I don't have it at this point. But those will be coming out soon. And so I, wanting to wait is completely valid. Samantha, haven't decided on a cover or a theme. Oh my God, yes. Okay, stop eating my hair. Is this fun, like watching me covered in kittens while we're chatting about planners and cats and stuff like that? Like, this was literally I don't have anything planned and my brain doesn't want to plan anything. Let's show you the kittens and chat. Lynn, you've talked to them 3 times. What do they say at this point? Like, what is the story? This is ridiculous. They won't give you a ship date? Oh my God. That's crazy. Do they still have like actual phone customer support, or do they just have the chat support? Because if they had actual phone customer support, and I could have sworn they did a couple years ago, I could be wrong. But sometimes those reps will give you more information. I actually worked in a call center for 4 years, and then I worked at Netflix's call center over the summer. But the one I worked at for 4 years was an auto finance call center. And I know that one thing when it came to any sort of written communications is we had to be very, very careful what we put in writing, because that has a different weight than something said verbally, even if that thing that's said verbally is recorded. And so a lot of times they will give you more information over the phone because they don't have quite so many constraints. That's not an end-all be-all, don't get me wrong. The other thing is sometimes because you have that, like, they can actually hear your voice, sometimes they will actually go a little bit more above and beyond for you, because you can like build a little bit more of a rapport. They're not necessarily inferring your tone and stuff like that. You just have to be really careful over the phone that obviously you don't completely lose your temper, because I can tell you from personal experience, when people lost their temper around me, or, when I was a rep on the phone, a lot of times I would lose all empathy for the situation, and I'd go from being happy to go above and beyond to bare minimum. So be very careful. And as somebody who unfortunately was, before I worked in customer service, a terror, and after I worked in customer service, usually pretty good, but known to occasionally lose my temper when I get very frustrated, I do always apologize. At least I will say that from a rep standpoint, if you ever lose your temper with customer service, apologize at some point. Hey, I know it's not you, or hey, I know you have to follow the rules, like, or something like that, because like, they're people too, and that can go a long way towards them, either kind of getting back on your side, or, just making their day a little bit better, I guess, because a lot of customer service people are effectively being paid to be yelled at all day, and they don't make enough. So let me go back and look at the chat. Okay. Andito, I got the 7x9 horizontal planner, ordered the Harmony Neutral Compact Vertical. Nice. Yes, I cannot wait until I can start actually using the Compact Vertical. Samantha, I'm glad you love chill streams with Hangouts. I will only have the kittens to show off for another few weeks if I decide to do chill streams in the future, but maybe we can do something else, or just, hang out, chill. The other thing I was thinking about for doing today, and we still could do this if we get bored, but I have to design a sticker kit for my June sticker subscription box. And so it's one of those things that even if I'm not saying like, okay, I'm doing this and describing what I'm doing, it actually helps me process-wise to, you know, be chatting with someone. To some extent, it's actually called body doubling, and it's a technique that people with ADHD and other neurodivergent or, you know, mental health conditions will sometimes use to be able to focus better. And so sometimes that can help me a lot. I've tried to do it a couple times in the past. This was before I had so many people coming live to my streams, and we didn't get very many people coming. And so I kind of stopped doing that because I just, you know, I had other stuff and it didn't look like there was a ton of interest. But that is another idea. And if there are any other times when I either really need to get something done or don't have plans, we might do that as well at some point. So there is that. So yeah, you could see what it looks like to make a sticker kit. And by the way, I mentioned I have a planner sticker subscription. I also have an Etsy shop. I'm not always the best at getting the sticker kits or even the stickers that are in the sticker subscription up in the Etsy shop, but if I show it to you guys, then I have a little bit more incentive to do it. It's not supposed to be exclusive stickers in the subscription. It just sometimes works out that way because I don't get around to it. Anyway, Sarah got the 7x9 horizontal in bloom. Nice, Lynn. I called them and they didn't answer my question. Ugh, they do that sometimes too in customer service. I can't speak for Erin Condren specifically. All I can do is give my best tips from being the rep on the other end of the phone. It's a lot easier to slip up and reveal extra info on the phone too. That is a very good point. I will also say that when you're talking to customer support over the phone, a lot of times if they like need to do research, they'll ask you to hold. And a lot of times they'll say like, hey, I need to do some research. Sometimes they won't. They'll just ask you to hold. It usually, like 99.9% of the time, means they're looking something up. Occasionally, if the call is getting heated or intense, it means they need a break. But usually they are doing something in the background, looking something up, looking up a policy, whatever it is. The other thing I will say is that, so I've worked at 2 companies in customer service, so I can really only speak to those. And my experience working at Netflix was over 10 years ago, so I can't speak to their current policies. But in general, in my experience, they're not always the best at communicating new changes to reps. And a lot of times, especially when you have like a weird one-off situation, they don't have like an actual procedure. So there can, in some cases, be a fair amount of improvising going on. Or there were some situations where I'm like, well, what the customer's asking isn't technically the policy, but like on a moral level, it feels wrong to not try to do something. So that's usually, unless there was like a really hard like line, usually it was for like legal reasons or compliance reasons that we couldn't do something. Usually I'm like, okay, if I feel morally like the answer I have to give the customer is bad and I can't come up with a good reason why an exception can't be made, then I'm going to try to find an exception. But again, if the customer was being rude to me, I wouldn't try. It would be letter of the law, get them off the phone as soon as possible because they're not being nice. Therefore, I'm not going to go out of my way for them. So anyway, Lynn, they gave you overnight shipping. Yeah, but if they don't tell you when it's going to ship by, that, I mean, it's better than nothing, but it would help to know when it's going to ship by. Sarah's saying message them on Facebook. A few years ago, I actually had a really good customer service experience with Erin Condren on Twitter. And I literally only use Twitter to complain about things and to like post things for Animal Crossing so I can like track stuff. I won't get into the nitty-gritty of that because I don't want to bug you guys about like all of my nerdiness. But right now I am thoroughly obsessed with Animal Crossing New Horizons. And So those are the two things I use Twitter for. You could theoretically check me out on Twitter. I'm at 𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏, but you're literally going to see me complaining or posting like random 6-second Animal Crossing videos going through my inventory. So your choice. I wouldn't, if you're going to follow a social media platform I don't use a lot, I would highly recommend you choose Instagram or TikTok. You're much more likely to see something actually useful there. Instagram, again, is at 𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏. I think I have at 𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏 on TikTok. I don't use it. The one I use on TikTok, if I'm going to be using something, is at 𝗀𝗁𝗁𝗁𝗁𝗁𝗁𝗁𝗁𝗁𝗁𝗁𝗁𝗁𝗁𝗁𝗁𝗁𝗁𝗁𝗁𝗁𝗁𝗁𝗁𝗁𝗁𝗁𝗁𝗁𝗁𝗁𝗁𝗁𝗁𝗁𝗁𝗁𝗁𝗁𝗁𝗁𝗁𝗁𝗁𝗁𝗁𝗁𝗁𝗁𝗁𝗁𝗁𝗁𝗁𝗁𝗁𝗁𝗁𝗁𝗁𝗁𝗁𝗁𝗁𝗁𝗁𝗁𝗁𝗁𝗁𝗁𝗁𝗁𝗁𝗁𝗁𝗁𝗁𝗁𝗁𝗁𝗁𝗁𝗁𝗁𝗁𝗁𝗁𝗁𝗁𝗁𝗁𝗁𝗁 business, my sticker shop. I named it after my cats Coco and Opal because I'm a crazy cat lady. Let's see. Anito, the shipping is confusing because I'm in Canada and they get the international shipping protection for my order. Never had an issue with it. Yeah, it's interesting. And I want to say, was it Erin Condren? I think it was Erin Condren I was looking into international shipping for because somebody had asked about do the coupons work in, I think it was South Africa, if I remember correctly. And I'm like, well, there's no region lock for the coupons, but do they ship to South Africa? So I had to look into that because I've never had someone specifically ask about South Africa. And as far as I could tell, they do ship to South Africa, so that wouldn't be an issue. But they were talking about some sort of like international shipping stuff. And like you were talking about like the international shipping protection. And I don't know if it actually works this way, but it reminded me of something that Etsy does when you purchase labels through them. Do you guys need to get down for a couple minutes? Let's let you snuggle for a minute. Maybe you just need some time there. Got some heat there for you. Guys, curiosity killed the cat. Sorry, they were looking like they were trying to get out for a minute. What was I saying? Okay, so this is like kind of like an Etsy seller behind the scenes thing. So when sellers when sellers on Etsy ship stuff out, they can either purchase their own shipping themselves, or we can purchase shipping through Etsy. And in most cases, I purchase shipping through Etsy because most of my orders are in the US. But if I'm shipping internationally anywhere but Canada, I actually don't purchase my shipping through Etsy. And I've recently started offering in my sticker shop untracked international shipping, which I think I'm charging like $4.50 USD for, because tracked international shipping is like $16, $18 USD. And when you're buying one or even two sheets of stickers that cost $5, you know, paying twice the amount of the stickers for shipping is kind of silly, in my opinion. To some people, it's worth it, but I know it wouldn't be for me. So it was very important for me to try to come up with an untracked option, and I can't buy untracked shipping through Etsy. But, sorry, you know I tend to ramble. Roundabout. I got one kitten looking at me and one kitten just exploring. Hey, you guys are like, hey, you usually hang out when it's mealtime. Where's the food? Food's not coming till later. Okay, so for Etsy's international labels, they have this international shipping label program thing. I don't know exactly what to call it, but effectively, there are these different international shipping centers that when sellers purchase shipping internationally, if they live in the US, to anywhere except the US and Canada. So like UK, Australia, everywhere else. There's essentially a shipping center that it goes through in the US that it gets shipped to instead of going directly through like USPS or UPS or FedEx and, you know, going through their international system. So you say I was shipping something to Australia. Well, maybe Australia is not a good, Australia shipping is a little bit wacky, or at least it was last time I checked. So let's say the UK. Say I'm shipping something to the UK. If I was buying my own shipping, I would go to USPS, United States Postal Service, and I would purchase an international label, and It would have like a customs declaration form on it and all that good stuff. Put it on the thing, drop it off at the post office. There we go. When you purchase international shipping through Etsy to go to the UK and most other countries from the US, instead of going directly, it goes through one of their shipping centers in the US. And so instead of putting an international label on it, you put a domestic label on it. So just the normal shipping label you'd see on any package, and it goes to the shipping center. And the shipping center has like a big bin, I guess. And when they get enough stuff to go to the destination country, they ship everything over. And they relabel it to the appropriate shipping label for that country as part of the process. In theory, it's supposed to make it quicker. In practice, I found it makes it slower. So I bypass it. And if I have to ship anything internationally tracked that's not going to Canada, because Canada just goes direct, I don't have to worry about it, I use a third-party shipping service. Not shipping service, but like label service. I use 𝗙𝗏𝗏𝗏. It's just 𝗙𝗏𝗏𝗏.com. Sorry. We decided it was time to go pee. Okay. Give me a sec. I'll be right back and I'll finish this in a minute. Hey y'all, we're back. Sorry about that. When you have animals on a live stream, especially when they're babies, you have to tend to them first. So, usually, with kittens, they can't go to the bathroom on their own. And by the way, if you don't like hearing this discussed, maybe like plug your ears for a second and I will give you the thumbs up when I'm done talking about it. I know some people, Anyway, so with kittens, when they're little, like these guys are, they don't know how to use the litter box yet. And so what you typically do is you stimulate them to go to the bathroom around the time they eat. So these guys aren't due to eat for another hour and a half or so. So it didn't occur to me that we might end up with any potty accidents, but because they've never had them in the crate. But as they're climbing all over me, it would make sense that, their bellies are on me and, stuff down there, anyway. So, it is what it is. I got it cleaned up, got them, they both went pee. So hopefully it won't happen anymore. As you can see, I got a little kitten cam set up. So hopefully, you guys can see the kittens if I don't have one or both of them in my arms. And, I am cleaned up. Luckily, not too much got on me. I'll just throw this shirt in the wash when I'm done with the live. So anyway, that is the story about what happened. So sorry I had to run out like that, but hopefully you will forgive me because kittens. Anyway, so what I was talking about is, and I was kind of at the end of what I was talking about with this like shipping stuff. I was talking about how with like Etsy sellers, if you ship internationally from the US to anywhere but Canada, it automatically goes through one of these shipping centers that essentially is supposed to be cheaper and faster. It might be a little cheaper. in my experience, it's not necessarily faster. It might be a little bit more like, or less resource intensive. So like, I'll give them that. But from a shipping standpoint, because it gets shipped from the seller to the shipping center and then relabeled, the tracking looks real weird. And when I was looking at the international shipping on Erin Condren, I couldn't tell, but some of what they were telling me about how their international like shipping guarantee works kind of reminded me of how that works for Etsy sellers. So that's where that whole thing was going. I'm sorry if that was like crazy rambly, but all right. Samantha, quit my job in August. For a long time they let me do non-phone tasks, and when they made me start, I quickly burned out. Yeah, I was trying to get jobs off the phone for a long time, and either a lot of it was just timing, or maybe get transferred to another department, or I mean, I did get a couple of raises, so that was good. Like I wasn't like I obviously not obviously, but I did start out like at the bottom. I was able to go up a little bit, which is not possible to some extent in all call centers, so that's good. But yeah, I just got off work one day and I just got home and I'm just like, because I'd been trying to look for a job on and off for a while so I could quit, but I couldn't find anything that looked any better and paid enough to be worth my time, which is ironic because when I got home that day and said, I'm done, I don't want to do this, and put in my 2 weeks notice the next day, I didn't have another job lined up. I'm like, I'm gonna go full-time on Etsy. Which has definitely been an adventure, and I won't pretend that money has never been an issue during that time. Luckily, at the time, I had some savings, and so I was able to live off the savings for a while. I drove Uber Eats for a little bit, on and off for like 2 or 3 months, right before the pandemic, and then I know this is kind of terrible to say from a moral standpoint, and I will recognize that right off the bat. But factually, the pandemic was good for my business. I know, right? And the reason for that was that I was one of the first sellers in the planner sticker space specifically, but just with stickers in general on Etsy, to have pandemic-related stickers. So I was selling a lot of those right off the bat because I was one of the first to market. So yeah, that kind of saved my butt in a lot of different ways. And that's when my business actually really started picking up. There have definitely been some slow months. I'm actually coming out of a little bit of a slow period right now. Yeah, I forget where I was. But I was going with that. Oh, the whole like quitting your job. Yeah. I'm at a point where I would rather struggle to pay my bills as long as I can like actually survive than go back to a job that I really don't like. I can't do it anymore. I burned out years ago, I guess. I don't know. I did my best. I would, go for massages and, have fun and, relax on the weekends and all that good stuff. But, yeah, just did not work for me. It could just be the jobs I was doing. I'd done a few, corporate jobs, a couple retail jobs. At least in the call center, while I did not like the work, at least when people were like yelling at me when I worked in the auto finance call center, it was for a good reason. Whereas when I worked at Netflix, they're like yelling at me over $7 or because they couldn't pay their bill and their Netflix service wouldn't come back on for another hour. I'm like, seriously, dude, you're yelling at me about an hour. Don't have that much sympathy for you. Whereas when somebody is yelling at me because I couldn't remove an over 30 mark from their credit or over, $500, for one reason or another, I'm like, okay, this is not pleasant, but at least I understand where you're coming from. Like, we're not talking about an hour of your time or $8 here, Samantha, people are awful to you when you're in office medical secretary. The phone people got it mercilessly. Yes. Oh my goodness. One thing I will say, when I worked in customer service in the call center, is I definitely got, like, sexism in customer service is alive and well. As a woman, especially working in auto finance, I had to prove to people on the other end that I knew what they were talking about, whereas my male counterparts didn't. But I had some other female colleagues who, on a few different occasions, would have the most terrible, awful things said to them. The C word comes to mind. There was some other, like, really, really terrible and sexist stuff. And I didn't get anything like that. Luckily. I think part of it might be because my voice is a little bit deeper for a woman. It's not super high. Though I actually, when I'm talking on the phone, specifically, doing customer service, I do pitch my voice up. I tend to a little bit in these streams. It's a subconscious thing. More at the beginning than now. Once I kind of relax into it, it's not as bad. But bad. I mean, it's not bad anyway, but it's not as much, I guess I should say. But I was very, very lucky in that while I did have to deal with a lot, I at least didn't have to deal with that. And the funny thing is that this happened even when I was, like, one of the reps that had been on the floor the longest. There was one guy who was not only sexist, but racist, and really didn't like what I was telling him. I mean, it was the policy, like, it was one of those things where there wasn't any flexibility. I couldn't do anything for him. So we escalated to a supervisor. It's like, fine. I knew going into it that all of our supervisors were female, and he wouldn't like that. Of course, I didn't tell him about this going into it, but I knew, it's like, I happened to get the only one whose second language was English. Now, this supervisor also happened to be really meticulous and on her game. So she was, like, on point, but also hit both the sexist and the racist check boxes for him. And I was just like, yes, you don't like me because I'm a woman? You get the woman for your supervisor who English isn't their first language. Because he's like, you're not in India, are you? Or something like that when I answered the phone. I was just like, revenge is sweet. Let's see. The most frustrating part is not knowing how to direct the calls, and some people can't always explain the issue in words. Yes, I have done, like, office receptionist stuff, and I completely feel you. I've even temped a little bit, and yes, that is so hard when you don't know how to route things. Luckily, when I worked in the call center, most calls didn't need to be transferred. And I kind of figured out where things needed to go relatively quickly. Sometimes there was some gray area, but I hate that, especially when you're new and it, like, that's part of your job. Yeah. Let's see. My international shipping protection is included in my shipping fee with 𝗂𝗏𝗏, so it makes sense. Although I do pay double for currency exchange. Currency exchange is so annoying. It's also frustrating, like, when I'm talking about prices, whether it's on here or somewhere else, I'm like, okay, so I can talk about the US prices, but, like, I mean, there's not only US dollars, there's Canadian dollars, there's Australian dollars, and of course you have your different conversion rates. And so I'm not always the best at it, especially when talking about 𝗂𝗏𝗏 stuff, but, like, talking about prices, I'm like, if someone came in the middle, like, you know, me saying that something is $82, meaning $82 USD, and they're in Canada, like, is going to be different there, you know? So I try to be as considerate as possible, but it can be really tricky because you don't really know what it's going to be until you actually check out. Let's see. Okay, I think I'm to the point where I had to duck out for a little bit in the chat. Oh, Magneto, I'm glad that this was what you needed after a long day. I'm glad, even with our little potty accident, this is helpful and entertaining. Lainey, thank you for coming in, even if you are a bit late, and I'm glad you think the foster babies are cute. I think they're cute too. If they weren't cute, they'd probably have a harder time getting foster parents for them. I'm gonna be honest. Come on, guys. Sometimes they're like roly-poly on their backs and it's very cute. You're like, no. Belly, belly, belly. No? Okay. Let me know if having them here, it's probably not as entertaining as having them on me, but you are kind of seeing the same part of the kittens, kind of their back, and maybe you can see, I don't know. Let me know if you like this or you want me to kind of put them back on myself. As I said, I have to wash my shirt anyway, and we all went pee. Oh, I forgot to give my thumbs up saying that I was done talking about the bathroom stuff. Sorry about that. Let's see. Came back and my 3 cats were behaving like they didn't come home. I didn't come home at lunch hour to feed them. Oh my God. My cats do that too. So this morning, okay, so I've told you guys I have to get up in the middle of the night to feed these guys, right? And we just got to the point where I can go 4.5 hours instead of 4 hours in between feedings. And let me tell you, a half an hour might not seem like a big deal, but it is such a big deal. However, when I got done with the 4:30 feeding this morning, I couldn't fall back asleep. So I think it was about 5:30 or maybe 6 when I finally threw in the towel and been like, okay, I'm just up. I'm probably gonna sleep later. So when I got up, of course, like actually up, Coco and Opal wanted to eat, so I fed them. But I usually get up late, so like prior to these guys, I was getting up between like 10 and noonish. So they were eating pretty late. And so this time around, they This time around, they got fed very early, and so then of course at like noon they're like, hey, it's feeding time. I'm like, no, we did food early today. Yeah. Lainey, still haven't received your planners in process. Apparently there are supply chain issues with printer repairs slowing things down. I didn't know that. I knew 𝗂𝗏𝑘𝗏 was dealing with supply chain issues in general, but that makes sense. And I don't have printers like the ones at 𝗂𝗏𝗏, but I will say that there is a part in my printers called a maintenance box. It's essentially a reservoir for ink that can't be used for like print head cleanings. There's some ink that for one reason or another can't be used to be printed, and so it goes in this maintenance box. And cheaper printers don't tend to have removable ones, and you just have to replace the printer when they get full. But more expensive printers, like the ones I have, because I've been sticker business on Etsy, have removable ones. And they're not available locally. I have to buy them online. And even last time I was having printer issues, the whole reason I have 2 printers now is actually because I cannot get a printer that is this quality locally because it is higher than normal consumer grade. And I didn't want to run into an issue where either due to the maintenance box or other issues, my printer was down and I either had to wait for a part to come in or I had to send it in to get repaired. And one of those things, I needed a backup. So as far as like printers going down and stuff like that, like under normal circumstances, it can be hard to get those fixed. But then if you're also doing dealing with supply chain issues, that's so annoying. So I can completely, I can completely empathize with that. And I'm of the opinion that if you're running into something like that, that is okay, but you should be honest with your customers about what's going on. Like, hey, like maybe not like preemptively reaching out, But if, like, you know, if someone asks, say like, hey, we're running late because of supply chain issues, I'm really sorry about it at this point. Like, either this is our estimate or we don't have an estimate, or like, you know, you obviously aren't going to go into too much detail, but just being honest about what's going on. Like, there have been, like, I mean, last year in March, I got really bad food poisoning and ended up in the hospital for a couple of days. And because of that, my sticker subscription was a few days late. I'm as I say, a one-woman, two-kitty show. So if I'm sick or something like that, obviously Coco and Opal aren't going to get the stickers done. So it's up to me getting back. And, you know, I sent stuff out and I was like, hey, I'm really sorry. Things are late. I'm having some medical issues. I mean, I didn't have to go into details as to what was going on. I did mention it was non-COVID because I didn't want people to be like scared to open their package when it did come. But it's like, you know, if something happens, like, just be transparent about it. And then people can decide, you know, if they think that's an acceptable excuse, but at least, you know, you're letting them know what's going on. I'm a big proponent of that. And then also when businesses mess up, because mess ups are going to happen, like, no matter how big the business is, just being able to acknowledge that something happened and apologize for it, or say like, hey, that shouldn't have happened, you know, and I'm really sorry. Like, obviously sometimes it's not going to be something in your control, but like, you know, I've had issues with like USPS where it's like, I got stuff to USPS in time, but either it got lost or delayed or, you know, mailing, whatever. And it's like, I mean, there's only so much I can do, but I can still like work with you to try to get, you know, to get stuff to you. You know, in some cases I'll send out replacements, I'll help keep an eye on it, you know, stuff like that. And I can still be sorry that this is happening and that we're having to go through this experience, you know? So you can be honest about what's going on and empathize without taking on the blame if that's not applicable, I guess is what I'm saying. Yeah. Let's see. Samantha, I still haven't started working again. Luckily, I have a partner with a good salary willing to support my suspected autistic burnout. That is so, 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 so awesome. I will also say that while neurodiversities or quote unquote mental health issues, because I don't think everything that's classified in like the DSM is like a mental disorder is, anyway, that's a conversation for for another day. But burnout is a like recognized thing, and there are some countries, I think Germany is the one I heard about for the example, where if somebody is showing symptoms of burnout, they go to their doctor and the doctor can literally say this person is burned out, they need, you know, I think there's a limit to how much time they can get off work paid, but like it's, you know, short-term disability essentially, like we would have in the US, except burnout is like a legitimate reason. And I actually had a couple of episodes in the past few years, which was a contributing factor to not wanting to go back into corporate again. But essentially, I just got like vertigo. For the first time, it lasted for about a month, and the second time it lasted for 3 months. And I went to all sorts of doctors. You know, I think I had an MRI. I went to neurologists, regular doctors, naturopaths. I changed my diet. I did all this. I went to physical therapy, like all sorts of things, and they could not figure out what was going on with me. And I suspect it was burnout manifesting as physical symptoms. But because I didn't have a diagnosis, even though I had multiple doctors saying that my symptoms were real, I couldn't get it approved for short-term disability. Sorry, I get emotional every time I talk about this because I was basically being gaslit by not the medical system, but like the insurance system. I went into debt each time that happened because I couldn't get short-term disability, despite the fact that I was working for a large company that operates in multiple different countries. And like one of the big countries that this company operates in is like Germany. And I know in Germany or a lot of other places in the world, the best medical insurance in the US wouldn't qualify for like their basic coverage, like the lowest an employee could get. And so I was basically said, you know, told like, despite the fact that you have symptoms, no diagnosis, no short-term disability. So yeah, that happened to me twice. And apart from that, like, I mean, I had the vertigo, and then my brain like was just constantly fogged. Like there was a lot of times I could barely hold a fluent conversation. I was just like shutting down, and I just could not function. And the second time this happened, I actually had to go back to work before I was feeling better. I could hold a fluent conversation, but I was still getting vertigo episodes and I couldn't drive yet. So luckily my dad lived near me, and he had to drive me to work for 2 weeks because I did not feel safe on the road. But I had to go back to work or lose my job. Yeah. Okay. I don't want to talk about that anymore. I don't want to cry any more than I am. Let's see. It's not immoral to state a truth like that as long as you are also empathetic, which you seem to be. Oh, I think we're talking about the fact that because I was one of the first sticker sellers to get pandemic-related stickers in my Etsy shop, the pandemic actually made my business get better. But yeah, it's definitely one of those things that, like, from a business and a money standpoint, like, it's great, because I was about a month from being like, I can't do this anymore. Like, I'm out of savings. I just, like, I don't have any other choice. I can't make rent. And then the pandemic started, and I didn't want to leave the house. I mean, we had no information about what was going on, so I was in a situation like where I was just like, I don't want to leave the house until we have more info. We couldn't get masks at that point. So anyway, I was already freaking out because of the pandemic, but at least that was a load off my mind, I guess, that my business was finally picking up. We've all been there. I was completely unemployed during the pandemic, had to become a jewelry maker just to get by. I'm so proud of you. All of you. Oh, thank you. I'm assuming you mean me as part of all of you. There's a big market out there for jewelry too. If you're still doing it. Yeah, I mean, it is. There are a lot of people buying jewelry, but it's also very, very competitive. I've actually done a little bit of coaching of other Etsy sellers on the side, and a few of them have been jewelry sellers. And so while I'm not personally experienced in selling jewelry on Etsy, I do have experience a little bit in the competitiveness of the space. And I know it is crazy. What I will say, if you are still selling jewelry and still trying to make it a big thing, not someone I've coached, but one of my Etsy seller friends who sells jewelry, really started making a lot of money when she started going to shows and things like that. So if you have, local Saturday markets or craft fairs, things like that, and you're in a place where you feel comfortable attending or, have the time, money, whatever to attend, and this is something you're still trying to do, that could be something worth looking into. Helped her a lot. Samantha, it's so annoying. I recently keep having people assume I don't know anything about tech and handiwork when I've made it clear I do. I think that was I was talking about how sexism is alive and well in customer service. Yes, very, very frustrating. Yeah. Agreed. Let's see. I know I'm really behind in the chat, guys. Thanks for understanding. Your friend just opened Etsy shop selling earrings? That's so awesome. I would say post their link in the chat, but I think as part of the moderation settings, I but I probably disallowed anybody but me actually posting links. Let's see, if you're in a place where you could email it to me right now, I could post it in the chat. I'm all for supporting other creators. Ooh, will I have compact vertical fitted stickers in my Etsy shop? I don't have them right now, but it's definitely something I plan to do. I'm not sure exactly what they're gonna look like yet. Like, I mean, I have ideas of what would be useful for me, but I don't know what would necessarily be useful for everybody, because I know I have a very specific way of planning that isn't the same as everybody else's. So if there's something specifically that you would like a compact vertical sticker to do, let me know. If you're talking about like just making sure they're wide enough to fit properly and like, you know, sized correctly, that's one thing, versus like, oh, you know, do you want it sized to fit in the whole, like, it's not necessarily a box for the day, but like, you know, that space for a day and cover up the lines or have some sort of something in place. Let me know. Maybe we could do like a whole stream where we kind of play around with it. I'd have like some of the sizes pre-measured and stuff, and we can be like, hey, let's experiment and design some compact vertical stickers, and you guys could give me feedback as we go. I don't know. I'm brainstorming. Let me know if that would be interesting / fun / something you'd want to do. Kitten Cam is great. Glad you're liking it. Hey, Ackman, glad you were able to make it. Random and nosy, but what do you feed your adult cats? A little random, but I don't think about that as being like a nosy question. When someone says like, oh, I'm nosy, I think about it as being like a rude question. But anyway, that's besides the point. So, oh, I have to remember, do I have my phone with me? Because I actually took a picture of it, and my phone is not here. Okay, so I buy my food at PetSmart, which is important because it's a PetSmart, like, generic adult cat formula. I feed my cats dry food, partially because it's cheaper and easier, and partially because they don't like wet food, which I am perfectly okay with. It's really bothering me right now that I don't know where my phone went. I'll find it as soon as I'm done. I know it's here somewhere. Okay. Anyway, not important. It's just, I'm out of iCloud storage, so usually the picture that I took of what I get would transfer to my computer automatically, and I'm out of storage, so it won't. I just realized I can look it up. Okay. So it is, like, when I think of, like, different grades of cat food, there's, like, the cheaper stuff, and then there's like the higher end stuff. You have like the Purina side of things, and you have like more of like the Blue Buffalo, right? So mine is kind of like the kind of in like the lower end of like the higher adult cat food, I guess. That, if that makes sense. I want to say it's called like Simply Nourish or something like that. And I'm double checking right now. I think it's also available from Chewy. Even though it's technically a PetSmart thing, it actually, PetSmart owns Chewy. So if you don't have a PetSmart in your area, I think you can still get it from Chewy. Don't quote me on that. And of course, the website is going to be very, very slow. And I honestly don't know if it is because the website's just being slow or because I'm streaming. And it doesn't want to let me in. I'm pretty sure it's called Simply Nourish. And my cats are picky. So, Coco Coco likes the, the chicken formula. She doesn't like turkey. She doesn't like salmon, which is funny because she loves bonito flakes, which is, you know, Japanese fish flakes, basically. And Opal isn't super picky about what flavor of dry food she eats, but she throws up if I don't get hairball control formula. It's not technically hairballs, I think. It's like, because there's pieces of food in it. But anyway, so there's like literally one flavor I can get. And then I do also get bonito flakes and put that in it sometimes, especially when I'm getting a flavor that Coco doesn't when I have to get like the turkey or something, because occasionally they're out of it and anyway, so I'll mix some bonito flakes in it. And luckily she loves being hand fed. So worst case scenario, if she's not eating, I'll hand feed her. Usually as long as I mix the bonito flakes in, it's fine. And then I also, it's not technically what I feed my cats, but I do have a water fountain as well, because getting enough water and being hydrated is super important for cats, because a lot of cats as they get older can have kidney issues. And so Opal especially will only drink from running water. So it's either have a cat water fountain or turn the sink on for her multiple times a day, which I have had to do a couple times when the water fountain's gone down. I got mine as a present, but what I have found is that while occasionally the water fountain motors will go out, you can buy replacements for like $15. So you do have to buy filters. I don't change them as much as I should, but the cats still drink the water, so it's not the end of the world. And then, you know, if you think, you know, once a year you have to spend $15 on a new motor, you know. So yeah, that's what I feed my cats. Yeah. Let's see. Sarah, glad you got your planner before the supply chain issues hit. Yes, I'm really glad I did too. Sarah, glad you're liking the kitten cam as well. Ooh, okay. Where am I? I'm trying to go down as like far as possible. You give your cats a mix of Ian's soft food for breakfast, lunch, or dinner. You give them Purina senior dry food mixed with 𝗬𝗓𝗄's hairball control. Senior food is also good for kittens coming off the nursing phase. Ooh, good to know. Luckily, I don't have to worry too much about what food to give the kittens as they're getting weaned, because my shelter will give me stuff, but they usually, I mean, I've had mom cats before with kittens, and they've always given me tons of kitten formula. Sometimes I have to advocate, because during kitten season, even though they do have a lot more resources than some of the shelters do, sometimes there's still not a ton of resources. So sometimes I have to like talk to them a lot and be like, hey, did you get anything? Did you get anything? Especially when you have a really picky cat. Hopefully, as I wean these guys, I can train them not to be super picky. It's not always possible, but yeah. Yeah. Oh, Ackman. Alas, no, the kittens do not have an 𝗂𝗏𝗏𝗏 chirp a throw to lay on. They would be quite well taken care of if they did. No, this is just a blanket that the shelter put in there. And then there's a heating pad right under here as well. Usually they don't lie on it, but because we're not in the bathroom and it's not temperature controlled, they're wanting to lie on it a little bit more than normal. And then we have a towel underneath as well. I know you can't see that as well, but towel. And then this is the first time I've ever bought stuff for my fosters besides like a litter scoop, but I went to the dollar store and I got a couple of baby blankets. The other one has unicorns on it, which is adorable. But yeah, I figured, you know, it's nice to have a couple of things, and they're not that expensive, so it wasn't a huge money investment for me. And, you know, I can either use them for other fosters or I can donate them to someone who needs them if I don't end up needing them for other fosters. So yeah. Yes, the neurodiversity medical model. Model is better than the medical model. I think I'm picking up what you're putting down. Yeah, there is so much more that we need to learn about how people work, especially people with neurodiverse brains, and that has so much to do with like how to make sure everybody gets good medical care. And I don't know too much about autism specifically, so I can't speak to that, but I know at least with ADHD, a lot of the like quote unquote accommodations for ADHD actually tend to make things easier for everybody else, because with ADHD, you'll have issues, or I have issues, or people with ADHD have issues with executive function. So accommodations basically like make things easier to start or things easier to get done. make it easier to do things with like fewer steps, which makes it easier for everybody else who doesn't necessarily have ADHD. So like, for instance, I've always had like a love-hate relationship with dishes, even as a kid. But when I got my first apartment in college and I had a roommate that actually did their dishes, I had no problems keeping my dishes done. And, you know, we'd put them in the dishwasher. Like, yeah, sometimes it took a little while to unload it, or things would like pile up for a day or two in the sink. But like, it wasn't a huge deal. Like, we managed to get it done pretty easily. But then I had another group of roommates a couple years later where, you know, we had mucho issues with the dishes and we could never keep anything clean. And now my current place doesn't have a dishwasher and I am incapable of keeping my dishes clean. So for me, literally a dishwasher is an ADHD accommodation. And I keep saying I'm going to buy a countertop dishwasher, and honestly, there keeps being other things that are more important to buy. But yeah, my next place, I've decided that if I can't find a place that has a built-in dishwasher, I'm going to buy a countertop dishwasher, especially if I'm living alone, because at least when you have someone else there, you have like the social pressure to some extent to like keep your shit clean. But when you don't have a roommate, it's your own damn fault when things aren't clean for the most part. I mean, sometimes it's the cat's fault, but you know, close enough. But you're also the only one that is inconvenienced by it. So anyway, same with the laundry, with a washing machine. I don't have in-unit washing. I actually, luckily I live super close to my mom and I just go over to her place to do the laundry. But oh man, there's definitely times where I go way too long in between laundry. And so that's another thing. It's like, if I can't find a place with in-unit washer dryer, or at least in-unit washer, I'm going to get like one of the little like washing machines that you can kind of like put, usually you see them like in the bathroom or whatever, and they at least do the wash cycle, and then you have to, and then they spin it to spin out the water, and then you hang it up to dry. But I'm like, okay, at least then I don't have to go out. I'd probably still have to go out to do like sheets and stuff like that, but at least like, you know, underwear, pants, shirts, stuff like that. So, Samantha, every job you've quit was due to extreme burnout. I'm sorry that happened to you. FMLA coverage can be fickle. Yeah, oh my God. I heard of somebody at the company I used to work for who had a hard time getting approved for FMLA coverage for having a baby. It's like, there's only so much you can do to fake the fact that you had a kid. Especially because FMLA gets to review your medical documents. It's like, there's only so much you can do to fake that. Why would that be an issue? Anyway, Lainey, they sent you an email update on your order mentioning the printer supply chain issues. Okay, at least they told you about that. Burnout is a real thing, Manita, that affects everyone. Sorry for anyone who went through it. Yeah, it is bad. And I've also heard that burnout, it takes like months, if not years in some cases, to actually get over it completely. And I would not be surprised if to some extent I'm actually still going through burnout, but, you know, I have a big long list of things. It's like, oh, if I could just hire someone to do that, oh, that'd be amazing. It's a lot of it's like, ooh, that would actually get done if I had the money to hire someone to do that. But some of it's like, oh, I'd just be so much less stressed. So Smith, I don't know where my phone went, is something I say 5 to 10 times per day. Oh my goodness. Yes. I've mostly gotten into the habit of leaving it in constant places. So when I don't know where my phone is, I can usually check the places where I mostly put it down. Same with like my glasses and with my AirPods. Like, that's one thing I have, at least for specific things, gotten in the habit of doing, is like when I put it down, it has to go into one of the like the regular places where it gets put down. Occasionally the phone is different because I'll like put it down while I'm doing something and walk away, but I'd say like 90% of the time it's in one of my normal spots, which is nice. It will probably take me less than 5 minutes to find the phone once I get up and actually look at it. Let's see. Let's see. Also matching colors to the tab colors of the Harmony neutral. Not a fan of the Harmony design, but I like the color scheme. Yeah, so the Harmony design, I mean, they definitely, like the brighter themes with 𝗂𝗏𝗏𝗠𝗔, like they might not be necessarily exact, but they use the base 𝗂𝗏𝗏𝗠 colors as their like inspiration. So, you know, a lot of the 𝗂𝗏𝗏𝗠 stuff is going to go with that. And with the neutrals, they don't seem to have like an actual, this is the exact color palette yet. Maybe there's some similarities, but I don't think it's exact per se. So, maybe they'll standardize that. I have actually figured out what the normal 𝗂𝗏𝗏𝗠 standard colors are, and I haven't released them in my shop yet, but I've made myself some 1/2 and 1/4 box stickers with those colors that I've been using for myself, you know, that coordinate. A couple of the colors aren't exact, but they're like as close as my printer can get. But that is something for a lot of my stickers, like 1/2 and 1/4 boxes, and there are a lot of other stickers that I offer in multiple different colors that I'll start using this set of colors. I have another set of colors that I'm using right now, and it didn't occur to me to check the 𝗂𝗏𝗏𝗠 colors when I came up with them, and I figured it out like a month or two later, and then I just haven't gotten around to updating it until now. So I have these like really cute water bottle tracking stickers that I'm going to get up in the shop. They're probably going to be one of the first ones with the new colors. Sorry, we have like a little thing in her or his fur. The water bottle tracking stickers have been in my sticker subscription for a while, but they just haven't made it into the shop. So it's like one of those things. It's like, well, it wasn't necessarily meant to be exclusive up until now, but it kind of is. Yeah. How old are the kittens? Asks Hannah. Hey, I don't think I've said hi to you yet, Hannah. I hope you're doing well. The kittens are around 4 weeks old. I don't know exactly because they are from a shelter. The best way to tell how old they are at this age is to look inside their mouth and see what teeth they have. And so I haven't checked in a couple days, but the next tooth they're going to get is their canines. And as of a couple days ago, they don't have those, but that's like the mark that they're around 4 weeks old. So when I got them, I was told they were around 3 weeks old, and based on how I know to tell how old kittens are, they were small for their age, but the teeth and the other things I was observing were about right. They are turning into little chunkers, let me tell you. They're, I think, around 200, maybe a little higher than 200 grams when I first got them. And now they're both almost 400 grams. I measure in grams just because it's smaller. I don't know what 400 grams translates to as far as ounces goes, but I know that when I got them, they were 9 ounces and they were in the vicinity of 200 grams. So that at least kind of gives you an idea. People are talking about like going with color blends instead of Harmony because of not especially liking Harmony or the big color chunks. I can definitely see that. I ended up going with color blends as a last minute thing, and I'm actually really glad I did, because on weeks that I don't end up doing a ton of sticker planning, because a lot of times I don't, even though I like say I'm a sticker planner, but I don't want to spend a lot of time decorating, but I know for me, if my planner isn't cute, I won't look at it. So having that like little bit of color is nice, but it's still not enough that it gets in the way if I'm sticker planning. So yeah, I'm really excited. Let's see. Ooh, I think Samantha's talking about the cat water fountain. Buy the off-brand filters and read up on how to fix a broken motor. I went to buy a new motor and all of the comments taught me how to fix it. I didn't try to like fix my water fountain motor, but I did read some comments about like different things you could try to clean out. And unfortunately doing those like cleaning things didn't fix mine. Ultimately, I'm actually kind of glad I bought a new motor. The original motor that I had was more silent, which I liked because I am often bothered by ambient sounds. But I'm even more bothered by ambient light at night, and the old one had a light on it. Most of them tend to, in my experience. I don't know why, but they do. But I was able to pay like $3 extra to get a new motor with no light on it. And so that has actually made it a lot easier for me to sleep at night. Not that I don't have a ton of other sleep issues, but you know, it helps. But thank you for the tip. Next, you know, if this one goes out or next time or whatever, I will definitely see if I can fix it. Let's see, talking about different planners that we got. Ooh, okay, so more information about the motor. There's a tiny propeller all the way on the inside, and most people don't rip off enough pieces off the motor to get deep in while cleaning it. I think I know what propeller you're talking about, and I will admit that I do not clean my motor nearly as often as I should. But if I am if I'm thinking about the same propeller you're talking about, when I do clean my motor, I do clean it. The kittens have not experienced the spring yet, and they're basically sleeping right now, so this is not a good time. They don't really have toys yet. Just in the past couple of days have they started doing anything besides eating and sleeping. So, Hannah, you have ADD, ADHD. Yeah, I was only diagnosed a little over a year ago, and I'm a big proponent in talking about ADHD or other, you know, mental illness, whatever you want to call it. I put it in quotes because it's really annoying because, like, on one hand, it's like, oh, it's an illness, but it's also not treated as like a real illness. So I was like, okay, so then why? Anyway, so you have all the stigma of it being an illness, but it's not treated like one. Anyway, so yeah, these things have to be talked about because, again, that's how you combat the stigma. And so, because I'm talking about this and addressing this, so, you know, I mentioned that I was diagnosed with ADHD in February of 2021. I knew for about 8 months ahead of that. No, not 8 months, 6 months. I was pretty sure I had ADHD, but it took me a long time to get into my doctor to get the referral to go then get the diagnosis. I, back in college, so over 10 years ago now, was diagnosed with dysthymia. I think it's now called high-functioning depression. Because I was diagnosed with dysthymia, that's like the term I like to refer to. But it's kind of like the silent sufferer in a lot of ways. It's kind of like low-grade depression, but very persistent. Whereas like depression, the way people think about it is like it kind of comes in like waves, whereas with dysthymia or high functioning depression, it's a lot more mild, but it's a lot more consistent. When I'm explaining it to people, I have like this little graph that I draw. I'm not gonna get it out now, but I was a psych student in undergrad, so that's how they explained it to us, and that's how it made sense to me. So that's how I explain it to people. But yeah, it's basically lower grade depression that is consistent. So, you know, kind of think about it like, you know, something, even if it's, you know, like even just like pain or something like that, like if it's less pain, but it doesn't go away, like it's still going to wear on you over time. So that's kind of how it is. So yeah, that, and then I don't think I've been diagnosed with anxiety, but I've definitely have like some symptoms of anxiety, but it also could go along with the ADHD. Again, since I've been diagnosed with ADHD, that's like in hindsight a lot of where the things that I've been dealing with have come from. And it even could be a case of, had I been diagnosed with ADHD as a kid, that like I wouldn't have necessarily developed depression, or it wouldn't have manifested, because there's like the whole like nature versus nurture thing, and you know, how much of it is a genetic component, and I haven't kept up on the research of that. There's this whole model about it called the 𝗬𝗎𝘖 stress model, which again, I will not get into unless you guys want to, but it's basically a model of like how predisposition for developing depression or other mental illnesses factors in with stress that in experiences you have that could also contribute to it. So, Samantha, I have very severe ADHD, and you're definitely right about accommodations. People often end up copying the weird ways I do things as I accommodate myself. Yeah, I am, it's funny because for me, I had a very different upbringing in a lot of ways to what a lot of people had. Essentially, I was homeschooled through 7th grade, and looking back on it, I'm like, oh my God, had I been in school, I would have been diagnosed with ADHD in 1st grade, which is actually part of the reason why my mom didn't send me to school, because she's like, my kid's just gonna get diagnosed with ADHD, and she meant well. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying she did wrong, but she didn't want me to get put into the ADHD box when that's not what it was. And, you know, maybe I was just someone that was developing at a slightly different pace, or, you know, just had a slightly different temperament, or like whatever it was. So, you know, I look back and I'm like, you know, she did the best that she could with what she had at the time, but had I been diagnosed, there are so many things that would have been different. But I also learned to internalize and mask real well. And taking off the mask has been very hard, because it's been very internalized and very like, that's how you behave in, you know, XYZ situation. But then I get like extra tired, or, you know, whatever it is, I don't want to be in situations like, or whatever, because I'm trying to like appear normal or whatever. So, you know, different things like that. But like, for instance, I was introduced to audiobooks when I was 7. So I'm 33 now, I think, around there, in my early 30s. And so it's been, what, 25 years that I've been listening to audiobooks. And I wasn't introduced to audiobooks because of ADHD. There was some other stuff that was going on, but I think I kept listening to audiobooks so much because it helped me to be able to move my hands while listening to a story. And so, you know, I talk about this, like, everyone for the past few years, like, oh, audiobooks are amazing, like Audible, like all this sort of, like, I remember back when you had to go to the library and get out books on cassette tape, and you could tell how long a book was by how many tapes it was. Oh, okay, that is my phone, and it's close. Oh my God, it's up here. Remember when I said I didn't know where my phone was? It's the kitten cam, of course. Duh. That is my alarm saying that the cats have to be fed in 30 minutes. So, luckily they're not meowing at me for food now, but yeah, anyway. I told you I'd find my phone real fast. Yeah. What was I saying? Oh, like the whole audiobook thing. I can concentrate better on audiobooks or books in general when I can do something with my hands, which I obviously can't do while I'm like physically reading a book very well. So that's one of the reasons why audiobooks really work for me. And so as a kid, I would do like, oh, I'd listen to audiobooks and I do crafts and stuff like that in my room. So like there's that whole thing. And I mean, this is a little bit unrelated, but kind of related. It's one of those things that I didn't realize was ADHD related until years later. So I used to be like really into anime, and I'd go to the anime conventions and I'd volunteer there and stuff like that. And I don't know how much of an issue or a contested thing it is now, but at least back in the day, you had like your diehard anime fans that were like, dub is the only way to watch anime. It's the purest way. You get to like hear the original voice actors and all that stuff. You shouldn't watch dubs. I have always been a person who watches dubs. There are a couple of animes I did end up watching subbed because they weren't available dubbed. But I had on several situations had conversations with these people, and they'd be like, you know, they were very proponent, like anti-dub people. And I'm like, look, I'm not going to pretend that all dubs are great. What I will say is that I like to do something with my hands while I'm watching anime, and I can't do that if I'm reading subtitles. And literally every single person I explained that to was like, oh, that's a legitimate reason for watching dubs. And these are the people that hated dubs. And I'm like, yes, I finally convinced them there's a valid point to watching dubs. Now, dubs, anime, or anything has gotten so much better. But, oh, back in the day, there were some real cringe ones. And there were a few shows I wanted to watch, but the dubs were so bad, I just couldn't. And if the show was good enough, then I'd watch the sub. Yeah. Oh, Samantha's saying that's horrific. You live in New York where they have guaranteed family leave for both parents, including adoption. So here, there's a little bit of a difference. And I don't have kids myself, so I don't know the ins and outs of it. I know there's guaranteed leave, but there's a difference between paid leave and unpaid leave. So, like FMLA is, I think that's unpaid leave. So like you keep your job, but you don't necessarily get a paycheck during the time. And so that's what the person was having a hard time with her baby, or when she gave birth, is she was having a hard time getting the like short-term disability payments when she should have qualified instantly. And it's like, I have an ultrasound, I can prove it. Like, it's like, if they need to see documentation that you're pregnant, like the insurance company, like it sucks that you would have to provide it, but yeah, it's not hard to prove. I'm skipping down a couple of things in the chat. Ackman, yes, I do want to hear about the black coil. I think you have something further down the chat a little bit. If you don't, please put it in there, and then I'm just gonna continue to go down the chat. Let's see. My dad gave me a tile and I use it an embarrassing amount. I should get a neon phone case or something and make it easier to find. Oh my God. Yes. Luckily, my phone is the one thing I don't have a hard time finding. I do have a tendency to lose it in embarrassing situations. Like this. It's like literally I'm using it as the kitten cam and I couldn't find it. Or once, there's like this whole story, I can tell it if you guys are interested, about I was going to New York for the summer, and this is when I had my sticker business, and I didn't trust my printer and sticker cutter to go through as checked luggage on the airplane. So I took it as a carry-on. So I had like this whole thing with the TSA, and I was worried about being able to get my printer through because I have an ink tank printer. You can't take the ink cartridges out, and you can't put a printer in a baggie to comply with that particular thing. So, so I went through this whole thing, and I was lucky enough that my dad was able to not only drive me to the airport, but to wait there so that if we absolutely had to, he could pack up the printer and either ship it or check it. I forget which way we were going to go. But anyway, so I got through TSA. There's like a couple of other things that happened, but moral of the story, I got through TSA. And so afterwards, I'm like putting my bags back together, and I call my dad to let him know, because he's like standing by. It's like, hey, I put everything together, or I got everything through. I'm just putting everything back together. So we're chatting for a couple minutes. And then suddenly I'm like, Dad, I have to go. I can't find my phone. I think I lost my phone. And it's as I'm hanging up that I realize I was talking to my dad on the phone that I lost. So yeah. Okay, so I'm finally to the black coil stuff. So let's see, looks like Ackman talked to Patricia in the EC chat and asked why you could select a black coil for a notebook but not a planner. And Patricia said the black coil is not available in our new collections due to continued supply chain disruption. As of now, we have not yet received an update on when it will be available. I asked if it might be back. She said, yes, it might be back. Interesting. So they're saying that they're discontinuing the black coil because of there's not enough interest, but maybe it also has to do with the supply chain. And they told us reps like the short and sweet part of the story. I don't know. Might be easier to say discontinued instead of we do not know. Yeah. Or just out of stock. Yeah, they were saying that the black coil was discontinued because the explanation that they gave us on the town hall was that there wasn't enough interest in it, and so in order to offer new options and customizations, they had to get rid of the ones that people weren't utilizing. So, yeah. Let's see, Hannah's saying, yes, ADD, ADHD, and things like that should be talked about more. I say, not all disabilities are visible. Yes. You also have depression and anxiety. Okay, yeah, so you know what I'm talking about with this. I agree, and for me personally, I go back and forth as to whether I consider my ADHD to be a disability. And part of this might be my own internalized stigma, but I also don't feel like my experience with ADHD and the issues I have necessarily are the same as other people's that have other things, whether it's more severe ADHD or autism or other physical disabilities that are more visible. And so it's not necessarily a term that I feel I can relate to as much, and I also don't want to degrade it for the people that need it and need to be able to say, I'm disabled or whatever it is. For example, I have a friend who is legally blind, but in a lot of situations, you wouldn't know it unless she told you. So you could say she has an invisible disability because you might not know about it, even though there are a lot of situations where she does need accommodations, and definitely bigger accommodations than I would say I necessarily need because of my ADHD, right? So when you're looking at my invisible disability versus her invisible disability, while the accommodations that I would want for my ADHD are definitely overall, like, I don't want to say simpler, but like more universally useful, I guess, than things she might need, I don't want to take away from people's perception of her disability, like, because she's legitimately had issues getting accommodations at jobs for the first few months, and that is not okay. As hard as it is for me to like work a job that I don't like and stay focused, and I mean, I think burnout's definitely part of the issue. There's other things going on. It effectively, like, if you don't have ADHD or aren't familiar, it effectively takes people with ADHD extra energy to stay focused, especially on things they aren't actively interested in. So they're expending more energy on the same tasks as people without ADHD. The exception is when they're interested in something, because then people with ADHD have a tendency to be able to hyperfocus, or even if they're not hyperfocused, if it's something they're interested in, they're effectively getting like little boosts of dopamine as they're doing it, which can keep them engaged, or us engaged. So like in that situation, I think it's something that needs to be talked about, but I also don't want to inadvertently take away from the people that really need those accommodations to function, if that makes sense. So that's kind of where I stand on it, and that's kind of why I keep going back and forth on the disability thing. And it also depends on like the day. there are some days where I'm like, yeah, like, you know, this sucks, but I can get through it. And there are some days, like, even with meds, where I'm just like, nope, I cannot person today. Honestly, that was kind of today in a lot of ways. There was some other stuff that was going on, but yeah. Let's see. Samantha, my ADHD meds drastically reduced my anxiety to intrusive thoughts. God bless stimulants. Didn't get diagnosed with ADHD until nearly 27 because of my excellent masking and high IQ compensation. Yeah, it is really common, especially for women, not to get diagnosed with ADHD as kids because we don't fit the stereotypical boys, you know, bouncing off the walls. Now, had I been in first grade, based on what my mom told me about what I would have been like, I would have been diagnosed with ADHD because I could not sit still. But by the time I did go into high school, I had learned to mask well enough so that it wasn't obvious. I did a lot of stuff with a group of homeschoolers where you did have a lot of kids that, you know, probably had ADHD or, you know, were somewhere on the autism spectrum or had different learning disabilities and stuff like that. So there was like a lot of stuff going on. And in a lot of ways, like there would be like homeschool classes and things like that. And because you had a lot of kids with a lot of different needs, a lot of it was very accessible, like kind of out of necessity in some ways. But for instance, like I had a homeschool Girl Scout troop, and so we did all the normal Girl Scouty things, but sometimes we also like kind of leaned towards like the educational stuff a little bit, and you know, did fun, you know, sciencey activities or things like that because, you know, we could. And there were other classes that I went to that, you know, like technically my brother was in the Cub Scouts, but guess what? A lot of the Cub Scout activities were very science-based and different stuff like that. So they were able to incorporate a lot of that stuff and make learning very accessible for kids that probably wouldn't have done well in a public school. But, you know, keep in mind with homeschoolers, we're talking about homeschooling no space, not home space school, the kids who were in school and then had to learn at home during the pandemic. We're talking about like homeschoolers, we don't go to school, period, or to a traditional school, period. Sorry, my lip is getting icky. Where was I going with this? Oh, in order to be homeschooled in the first place, you have to be from a family that can usually have a parent stay home and homeschool the kids, whether it's actually teaching them or taking them to different classes or a combination of both, which is what my mom did. But not everybody can. I mean, I was very fortunate that only my dad had to work growing up and that my parents could afford to have my mom at home taking care of us kids and homeschooling us. But not everybody can. So you have a lot of kids that would benefit from a slightly different way of learning that it's simply an accessibility issue. And especially when you have huge class sizes in schools, they're getting better at working with kids, but you know, especially if there's not an official diagnosis or if there's just a big class and you have a teacher that honestly isn't given the resources they need, it's really hard to make sure the kids are getting what they need in order to learn and be successful. So I completely recognize that I was very, very lucky. Even though it would have been great to be diagnosed earlier, overall, I was lucky. Let's see. So Samantha's saying, I am the opposite. I have auditory processing issues and zone out horribly with audio only, so I need subtitles on everything. I actually do watch stuff with subtitles on TV now. I don't need the subtitles per se in most situations, but my mom likes subtitles because sometimes she can't hear, you know, specifically what's said. And so from going over to her place and watching movies and stuff like that, and then I was watching an actual D&D like replay thing. If you're into D&D, by the way, and are interested in watching like a pretty good actual D&D play show and have not checked out Dimension 20, do it. But specifically, Fantasy High was the first one I watched. There are some places where it can be a little hard to hear what they're saying. And so I got used to subtitles that way, and now I just have them on all the time. But if it's just subtitles for me, I have to be really interested to stay engaged. Having both helps me a lot. Oh, clarifying on the New York family leave, it is paid 70% of normal salary. I don't remember the exact amount. I think that's how short-term disability works here in Oregon. I don't know exactly how family leave works. For me, it was just the audacity of like having a hard time getting it approved. It's like, seriously? Like, as annoying as it is, and the trauma that I have with like not getting my like disability approved, and like not getting paid, like it sucks not being able to get a diagnosis, and they're like, oh yeah, you can't get short-term disability because of that, even though you have like very well documented symptoms from multiple doctors. But again, it's pretty easy to prove you're pregnant, especially when you're pretty close to delivering. Anyway. Oh, Samantha, you have to dip out. You'll catch up on the replay later. Well, if you are still here, goodbye. Thank you for hanging out. And if you're not and you're going to watch the replay, then thanks for coming back to watch the replay. Thank you, by the way, for everybody who is watching the replay, as well as everybody who is here live. And because this is a much more casual hangout stream, which has been amazing, by the way. I might have to do this more often. Because this has been fairly casual, the fact that you guys are chatting is like, I mean, that's apart from looking at kittens, that's the content. So thank you. Thank you for participating. It would have been real awkward if no one was talking. So yay. Manito, question. How can we get the mini calendars removed from the EC planners? Hope we can get them in sticker option instead. I think a lot of it is just going to be feedback, and I'm not sure if we're ever really going to be able to, like, part of me is like, is it realistic to think we're going to get them removed? I can see why some people would like them. As someone who doesn't use them, my God, they're cuddling. Oh, he's purring. This one's not. You can feel cats purr sometimes. But they're cuddling. They're so cute. I find it funny that they're like cuddling right at the edge. Anyway, but if we do want to get the mini calendars removed from the Erin Condren planners, I think the biggest thing is just to be vocal about it and let them know, you know, any situation you have where you can give feedback, give that feedback and let them know. I don't currently offer essentially a plain white sticker to cover it. It's definitely not the most elegant solution, but if that's something you'd be interested in, I would be happy to make it. Oh, hey, little dude. Let's see. Hannah, you were diagnosed in elementary school with ADHD or ADD. Yeah. Now they like, ADHD, I guess, is the umbrella term. And because of that, because I was diagnosed with ADHD, that's the term I use typically, but I know that before it used to be two different things, and now it's ADHD, and you have different presentations of it. In case anybody, dude, what the hell? You keep falling off. In case anybody's interested, I've been diagnosed with the mixed type of ADHD. So there's inattentive, which used to be called ADD, I think. I think that's how it is. And then there's the hyperactive, which is what you think of when you think of like stereotypical ADHD. And then there's the combination or the mixed presentation, which is what I've been diagnosed with. So yeah. Horizontal planner, the combined weeks, end of June, beginning of July, for example, is very cringe on the colorful designs. I wish the days of the month were with the month and didn't carry over. Yeah, I agree. FYI on YouTube, if you click the CC button on the screen of the video, you can get subtitles to the video. I don't always put YouTube subtitles on, but yes, I love that. I don't know if it does live subtitles for the live streams though. I'm kind of curious now. Let me know if anybody has subtitles on live or tried to put them on and it didn't work. Hannah, I also have audio processing disorder and have a hard time reading and would often skip a line or lines. I think I have like low reading comprehension, and I don't know if that is due to ADHD or not, but yeah. I have higher audio comprehension than reading comprehension, and that definitely caused me some issues in school, both in high school and in college, but I was able to get through it a bit better in college once I figured out how to work with it. Hannah, I use subtitles all the time. It helps me track because I miss hearing something or I hear it wrong. And you also mentioned a little bit later that YouTube Lives don't have subtitles for the actual live. Okay. I think the replay would have subtitles, like the auto-produced ones. Sometimes they're weird, but I think they're there. Oh, and then Manito confirms it's not all videos, but most of them on YouTube have subtitles. Yeah, so if I remember correctly, there is an option, I think in the lives, there's an option where you can say you want to do, like you want to enable auto subtitles or something like that, I think. Let's see, Ackman saying, Patricia told me to do this when I asked if EC had a page or email address for suggestions, comments. She told me to do this. I know there is, I'm missing some context. It probably had to do with what I was talking about at the time, Ackman, but if you could clarify, that'd be great. Let's see. Ooh, Hannah's saying there's an extension on Chrome where if you're watching a movie on Disney Plus, the extension adds a window with an interpreter doing ASL. That's so cool. That is so cool. I know almost no ASL. I basically know the alphabet and like a couple of things. But I took a little bit of ASL in, what would it be? It would have been middle school, I think. I think it would have been like 6th grade-ish. When you're homeschooled, sometimes the years like blur together. But yeah, I took an ASL class, and I remember a story. Actually, no, I don't think this is in the ASL class. I think this is a Girl Scout leader. In my homeschool Girl Scout troop, a lot of the mothers would like get involved with being leaders and would like teach different things. So I forget exactly what we were doing that day. We were probably doing something. But are you looking at your brother's butt? Okay. Let you do it. Oh, you got poop butt. That's not nice. That's not pretty to look at. We'll have to go clean that up in a couple minutes because I literally have to go in a couple. Oh, so anyway, this homeschooler was telling me that she had this homeschool mom was telling me that she had this job that she used to work at, and someone got hired who, I think they were deaf and not hard of hearing. I could be wrong, but they used ASL. So she figured out, she wanted to say hi to this person, and so she would do this sign every day because somehow she figured out that was hi. She later found out that this means nothing. This means cow. And I forget what hi is. It's probably, I don't know. I forget what hi is. But, so she was basically saying half of a cow every morning to this guy. So, anyway. Hannah, yes, I would love to learn more about ASL. You work with kids who are in the deaf and hard of hearing program. Nice. Not kids, but you work with, you know what? Kids, high schoolers. I mean, not same difference, but you know, a lot of times they get lumped into the same category. And you know what? I have reached the end of the chat, and it is almost 6, which is time for the kittens to eat. And we also need to clean up this one's little butt. Sorry if you have to look at that. I don't want to gross anybody out. So this was awesome, guys. Thank you for such a chill chat. I do have to go in just a sec, but I do have one question for you before I do. Monday is still, actually I have 2 questions. Sorry. So I am planning to do planner news on Monday, but if I can make it work with whatever we're doing, would you want the kitten cam instead of my face in the corner? If I'm like doing a screen share, so like the thing that we just had with the kitten cam. So if, say like where the kittens are right now is the screen share, would you want the kittens in the corner where my face is with the screen share? I'd love to know if you're interested. Ooh, asking when I'm going live next. Excellent question. Oh, whoops, that is just some random page on Etsy. Monday is when I'm going live next. The other thing I wanted to ask you guys is, did you like the later time? I have been doing 2:30 p.m. Pacific. I tried 4 p.m. Pacific this time around. I'm tempted to try a little bit, like maybe do like next week or 2 where I am trying 4 p.m. just to see how it works with my schedule. I found personally that sometimes on streaming days, I can't get as much work done as I'd want to because I have the stream, and then after the stream, sometimes I'm super tired and sometimes I'm not. So I'm thinking for me personally, like there might be a day or 2 where I'm not quite as energetic, but at least I can get more work done, which is good from a work standpoint. But if people, you know, if more people can come with the earlier time, like I'll work it out. So I just wanted to ask like what you guys think. It looks like a couple people are telling me that they like the later time more. If you are watching the replay and you made it this far, first off, thank you. And second off, let me know in the comments if you like the later time or if you would like to go back to the earlier time. Let's do 4 p.m. Pacific on Monday. If I do have to make an update to the time for whatever reason, I will put it in my community tab, but count on, it will be Monday, definite Monday afternoon, and it's tentatively 4 p.m. Pacific. A couple other people are saying they're liking the later idea. Yeah, I think that would be my alarm saying I actually have to feed the kittens now. I think it's good for a lot of people because I'm catching people after work. So, yeah. Ooh, it's a long weekend. Awesome. Is it a long weekend for everybody? The one problem working on yourself, you know, working for yourself at home and having your own business is that you lose track of a lot of the holidays. Yeah, Monday at 4 p.m. Do you have a Discord server so we can get notified when you go live? I do not have a Discord server. I should set one up. I will look into that. What that will be. I will warn you, I'm very bad at checking Discord. But I will look into getting one set up. Currently, the best way to get notified when I go live is to subscribe to me on YouTube and click the little notification bell. And then you have to also make sure that notifications are enabled on your phone, because if you haven't, you can click the notification bell, but if notifications are not fully enabled through the YouTube app and through your settings, you won't get them. So, yeah, that is the best way to get notified currently when I go live, but I will, I will look into Discord and to other community options. I mean, Discord, I think, is either free or really cheap. So that might just be the easiest thing to do. So yeah, thanks for that. Let's see. Someone said something a little bit earlier that I just want to, I know I have to feed the kittens really soon. I do have the formula mixed up. So like, I don't feel too bad about going a couple minutes later, because usually when my alarm goes off to feed the kittens, I have to go make the formula, which takes a couple minutes, but currently I have it mixed up in the fridge. I try not to have it mixed up ahead of time, but I made a little bit too much last time. Someone was saying, where was it? There was someone's comment and I like skipped over it at the time. Oh, enjoyed the live chat. Let's do another one for sticker suggestions. Oh, that's interesting. So we, maybe, I'm not promising anything, but maybe next Thursday we do like the kitten cam again, and we can just talk about like, sticker suggestions and what kind of stickers you want. And, I don't know, maybe if I get a cool idea, I can bust out the design or something like that. But yeah, just kind of talk about different stickers and stuff. That'd be fun. I might tentatively do another one of these hangouts next Thursday. Again, I will not promise. Discord is free. Awesome. Yeah, I've been part of several Discord servers, but I've never started one. So that's where I wasn't quite sure. Monday will be planner news, unless there's no news that I can find. I mean, right now I'm mostly focusing on Erin Condren stuff. So if there's no news between now and Monday, I'll obviously have to come up with something else. But yeah. Tentatively, planner news Monday, 4 p.m. Pacific, and hangout / talk about sticker suggestions / maybe a little bit of designing if I get super inspired, or if I need to like get feedback on a design in progress or something. Thursday, there will almost definitely be a kitten cam for both. The sad side is that there will not be Coco and Opal, but that's okay because I will only have the kittens for another month, maybe 5 weeks at the most. And Coco and Opal are my permanent cats. So might not get Coco and Opal for a little bit, but you'll get the kittens. All right. I really do have to leave. Thank you for everybody who has been here live and who has been watching the replay. Thank you to everybody who did like this stream / replay. If you haven't liked it already, that helps me out a lot, and I appreciate everything. Oh, and Ackman says possibly order your seasonal surprise box Tuesday. Good to know. Awesome. Nothing else this week. Hannah's asking for a live stream. Probably not anything else this week. Occasionally, I need to test something or I get inspired to stream on the weekend. But there's nothing that I'm anticipating streaming for the rest of this week. But, I mean, if people end up wanting to do more live streams, like if you guys end up wanting to do 3 a week instead of 2 a week, we could definitely look into that. For now, I kind of want to get into like a 2 a week rhythm, I guess, in some ways. And then we can add another one if people want. So yeah, I really do have to go now because I don't want the little baby boos to starve. That's what I call them, the baby boos. But yeah, thank you again. Take care. Bye.